Have you ever felt exhausted without having done absolutely anything? Have you ever walked away from an ordinary conversation feeling the weight of a life that isn't yours? People who barely know you tell you secrets they've never shared with anyone else. This isn't a coincidence. This isn't luck. This is your gift speaking louder than you've learned to listen. In this video, you will discover the 11 signs that prove you were born with the gift of spiritual healing, and why the pain you've carried until today wasn't a mistake. It was your most intense training. Stay until the end, because sign number 7 is the one most people ignore their entire lives, and it is exactly what separates those who truly have this gift from those who only think they do. Before we begin, I'm going to ask you one thing. If at any point in this video you feel yourself being described, leave a comment below with the word healing. This helps me know that this content reached those who needed it, and it will also help you recognize how many other people are going through exactly what you are. Let's begin. Sign number 1. You absorb what others feel, even without wanting to. You walk into a room, and within minutes you know exactly what the atmosphere is like. Not because someone told you, not because you observed any specific detail. You just know. The tension between two people pretending everything is fine, the sadness disguised by someone who is smiling, the fear hidden behind a firm voice. You perceive all of this as if your body were a precision instrument. Science calls this somatic empathy. Research from the University of Parma identified mirror neurons in the human brain that allow us to physically feel what another person is experiencing.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you, and strengthen your mind, also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
But in some people, this system is exponentially more active. In the United States, studies from Stanford University indicate that about 20% of the population exhibits characteristics of high sensory processing sensitivity, meaning these individuals' nervous systems process emotional and sensory stimuli with a depth far above average. You are likely one of these people, and for years you interpreted this as weakness, as a lack of emotional protection, as a defect that needed to be fixed. But the truth is that your ability to feel what others feel is the raw material of the gift you carry. No true healer can heal what they cannot first feel. The pain begins when you haven't yet learned to distinguish what is yours from what belongs to the other person. And this is the central point we will build upon throughout this video. Sign number 2. People choose you as a confidant without you doing anything to encourage it. Think about it. Have you ever been at a backyard barbecue, on the subway, or in line at a coffee shop, and suddenly someone you barely know starts telling you their life story? The divorce, the illness, the betrayal, the child who went astray. Details that person probably hasn't even told their closest friends. This happens to you with a frequency that you've normalized, but for most people it is quite rare. It's not for nothing. Your energetic field, the way you listen, and the quality of your presence create an environment of safety that the other person's body recognizes even before their mind processes it. American neuroscientist Stephen Porges developed the polyvagal theory, which explains how the human nervous system constantly scans the environment for safety. People with the gift of healing naturally and involuntarily emit neuroceptive signals of safety that regulate the nervous systems of those nearby. In simple terms, your presence literally calms the other person's body. Before you open your mouth, before you give any advice, just by you being there. This is power, real power. It's not groundless mysticism. It is biology at the service of a spiritual purpose. If you subscribed to this channel seeking to understand who you truly are, this is the moment to confirm it. Click subscribe now and hit the bell so you don't miss any of the content that will continue to deepen this journey with you. Sign number 3. Your greatest pain was also your greatest teacher. This is where many people look away, because it hurts, but it needs to be said. Every true spiritual healer has a foundational wound, a pain so deep that it forced the soul to descend into layers of itself that ordinary people never need to access. It might have been a childhood marked by emotional neglect, a devastating loss, a betrayal that shattered your worldview, or an illness that pulled the rug out from under your feet. In the United States, according to data from the National Institutes of Health, millions of adults report having experienced a traumatic event of great impact, and most carry this weight as shame, as proof that something went wrong in their own story. But what no one taught you is that the wound and the gift always go together. There is no healer without a scar. There is no one capable of reaching out to someone at the bottom of the pit without having descended into that pit themselves. Your pain was not an accident. It was the curriculum your purpose demanded. Joseph went through betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment before becoming the greatest instrument of salvation for an entire nation. It wasn't despite those trials, it was through them. The question remains, are you still interpreting what you lived through as a punishment, or have you started to understand it as training? Sign number 4. Animals and children approach you instinctively. This sign is one of the most concrete and verifiable. You've probably noticed that dogs that bark at everyone else go quiet when they get near you. That small children, sometimes the children of people you barely know, reach out their arms toward you or stay glued to you for no apparent reason. This isn't chance. Animals and children operate mostly through the autonomic nervous system. They don't have the social filters that adults develop to disguise what they feel. Because of this, their perception is much more accurate. Studies in ethology, the science of animal behavior, show that animals respond differently to humans with higher heart coherence. The HeartMath Institute, based in California, demonstrated that the electromagnetic field generated by the human heart can be detected up to several feet away, and that this field varies according to the person's emotional state. People with greater emotional stability and compassionate intent generate a coherent field that the nervous systems of animals and children recognize as safe. Translating, the peace you carry is physically measurable, and the most sensitive beings in the world perceive it before you even realize it yourself. Sign number 5. You have intense, symbolic, and sometimes prophetic dreams. When you lie down, your mind doesn't simply shut off, it accesses. Dreams where you see the future metaphorically. Dreams where people who have passed away deliver messages to you. Dreams where you feel you are accomplishing something, resolving something, healing something on a plane that isn't physical. You wake up from some dreams with a clarity that feels more real than your waking life. Sleep neuroscience is discovering deeper and deeper layers of what happens in the brain during REM sleep. But the spiritual traditions of practically every culture have known for millennia. Sleep is the portal through which the soul speaks without the interference of the ego. In the biblical context, God chose dreams as a preferred language with his messengers. Joseph received the vision of his destiny in a dream. Daniel deciphered dreams like someone deciphering letters delivered directly from heaven. If your dreams consistently have a different quality, if you wake up with symbols that beg for interpretation, if your nocturnal visions sometimes come true in real life, this isn't a fertile imagination. This is an intuitive channel functioning while your guard is down. Sign number 6. You feel you came here to do something bigger, but you don't yet know exactly what. There is a restlessness in you that doesn't go away. It's not anxiety, it's not depression. It's an uncomfortable certainty that the life you are living hasn't yet reached the full version of what it's meant to be. You might have a relatively stable life, a job, a family, a routine, but inside you there is something beating like a distant drum, a calling that doesn't have a name yet, but that you feel in your spine every time someone around you undergoes a real transformation. Every time you manage to truly help someone, not with money, not with practical solutions, but with words that touch the right wound, with a presence that transforms. You feel that sensation that you were doing exactly what you came here to do. This is your spiritual contract echoing. This feeling isn't vanity, it is recognition. And now we come to the sign I promised at the beginning. Number 7. The one most people with this gift spend their lives ignoring. Sign number 7. You exhaust yourself helping, but you cannot stop helping. Here is the central paradox of the uninitiated healer's life. You know you need to set boundaries. You've heard it 1,000 times. You even agree with it. But in practice, when someone comes to you in suffering, something inside you switches on automatically, and you give. You give attention, you give time, you give energy, you even give what you don't have, and afterward you are empty. With an exhaustion that isn't physical, it is an exhaustion of the soul. The problem isn't the gift. The problem is that you were never taught how to handle the instrument that you are. A talented surgeon without training can kill with the same hands that could save. The scalpel is the same. What changes is the knowledge of how to use it. You are a high-precision instrument that no one taught how to calibrate. And the result is that you take care of everyone around you while you fall apart inside. But there is a way out. Healers who learn to anchor themselves, who develop practices of energetic discernment, who learn to serve from abundance and not from depletion. These are the ones who can sustain the gift for decades without destroying themselves in the process. The question you need to ask yourself now isn't whether you have the gift. You do. The question is, will you continue using it without knowing how it works, or will you seek the training your calling requires? Like this video now, if this sign described you accurately. Every like tells me that this content needs to continue reaching more people who are going through the same thing as you. Sign number 8. You have a visceral relationship with nature. It's not just that you like being outdoors, it's that you need it. When you are overwhelmed, your first impulse is to get out, to go to a park, put your feet in the grass, sit near running water. And when you do that, something reorganizes internally in a way that no conventional therapy can replicate with the same speed. In the United States, a land of immense natural beauty and diversity, this connection is even more accessible, yet often ignored. Japanese studies on Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, have proven measurable reductions in cortisol, increases in immune system NK cells, and regulation of the autonomic nervous system after just 20 minutes in a natural environment. But for you, this isn't scientific news. You already knew this in your body. Because nature is your recharging system. It is where the internal noise stops. It is where you remember who you are outside of everything people ask you to be. Sign number 9. Your intuition is more accurate than logic, and ignoring it always brings regret. Have you ever had that feeling that you shouldn't sign that contract, shouldn't trust that person, shouldn't follow that path, and yet you followed rational logic anyway, and regretted it? A healer's intuition isn't a hunch. It is information processed in layers of the nervous system that the conscious mind doesn't access. Researchers at the University of New South Wales demonstrated that intuitive decisions in complex contexts frequently outperform purely analytical decisions, especially in situations involving emotional and interpersonal dynamics. The Bible calls this discernment. Science calls it implicit cognition. You call it a gut feeling. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that every time you honored that inner voice, things fell into place. And every time you silenced it to obey what seemed more rational or socially acceptable, you paid a price. This knowing that comes from nowhere isn't random. It is your gift communicating. It is your antenna picking up frequencies that most people don't even know exist. Sign number 10. You've had experiences you don't dare tell anyone. A moment when you felt a presence that wasn't physical. A light you saw with your eyes wide open. An inner voice that said exactly what you needed to hear at the worst moment of your life. A coincidence so perfect that you know deep down it wasn't a coincidence. You don't tell anyone because you're afraid of being judged, of being called crazy, of being accused of cheap mysticism or excessive creativity. But inside you, those moments are the most real you have ever lived. Quantum physics, especially in the work of physicist David Bohm regarding the implicate order, suggests that visible reality is just one layer of a much more complex and interconnected totality. Spiritual traditions from all cultures describe these moments as the thinning of the veil, as windows that open briefly between the material and the invisible. These experiences are not a defect of perception, they are an expansion of it. And the fact that you have them with uncommon frequency is another indicator that your consciousness operates on an extended spectrum. Sign number 11. You went through a period of radical rupture that changed who you were forever. Not a gradual change, a rupture, a loss, a crisis, a life-altering turn that shattered you, and that when you look back today, you realize was exactly where something new and deeper began to be born within you. In the hero's myth, Joseph Campbell identified this moment as the descent into the underworld, the necessary passage that transforms a calling into a real mission. In almost all spiritual traditions, the healer must first be healed. The guide must first be lost. The wound and the gift are born together, because the depth of compassion is directly proportional to the depth of the suffering that created it. Paul wouldn't have written about grace if he hadn't persecuted and destroyed first. Job wouldn't have received double restoration without having descended to the lowest level of human despair. Your rupture wasn't the end of your story. It was the prologue to your mission. And now we come to the most important point of everything said here. Recognizing the signs is the first step. But recognition without action is just paralyzed awareness. There is a huge difference between the person who has the gift and knows it, and the person who has the gift, knows it, and learns to use it with intention, with boundaries, with spiritual training, and with the protection that every sacred instrument must have. If you recognized yourself in 1, 5, 8, or all 11 signs in this video, the message is clear. You are not just sensitive, you are called. And this calling has requirements. It requires you to stop treating your gift as a burden. It requires you to learn to take care of yourself before you heal. It requires you to find community with others who understand what it's like to carry this sensitivity in today's world. It requires, above all, that you stop hiding who you are for fear of the judgment of those who will never understand anyway. The United States today has over 45 million people who identify as spiritually sensitive, according to research from the Pew Research Center on Beliefs and Spirituality. 45 million people who, for the most part, have no space to process and develop what they feel. Who were taught that sensitivity is weakness, that visions are madness, that emotional exhaustion is just being dramatic. You are not alone. And this channel exists exactly to create that space. If you've made it this far, do something for yourself now. Go down to the comments and write